Hey y'all. Now that we've talked about the stack and we've talked about the modifier panel, let's talk about some of the other things inside of the stack or the modifier. Actually the thing we work in the most, if you ask me, and where I work the most. That's the SubObject mode. What the SubObject mode is the other options you have to mess with the object, in this case the modifier. So let me show you what I mean. If I click on this little arrow, which all objects that have subobjects have, I can see there's different controls. What these controls and modifiers generally mean, these controls are for how the object or the modifier is placed on the object. So like I can move where it starts the curve, or basically I guess that's it, how it's placed on the object. In this case it's where it starts. It's pretty much like how it starts the position, even if it's not the center of the object, we can change that kind of stuff. That's different than the controls of how much we're doing it. So we're modifying it by this much, and we're saying where we want to modify it if it's different than the default. And usually we leave it default, but just so you know, you can come down to the subobject of this modifier and change it. The other one, the way we most commonly use it is with editable poly, which we will get to very soon. But editable poly, if you click on that, you'll see it's got that drop down arrow. It's a little bit different. It's not a pre-made. If we looked at this box, if I just delete these two, these pre-made things are gone because all I've done is collapse this to an editable poly. And what I get is a bunch of controls. And these controls change depending on what subobject mode I'm in. But let's see with the subobject. This is the subobject modes for editable poly. You can see it's a bunch of different changes that I can do. Again, this is where we most likely will be talking about subobject. But like I said before, there's also subobjects in most modifiers. And it just depends on where you want it applied as opposed to what you want to apply to it. And that's the subobject mode, and we'll be tons of time inside of here, so get used to thinking about that. When we talk about stack, we're talking about all the objects on top of it. When we talk about subobject, we're talking about the inside of each of the stack parts or the base object.